But that is the lawyer. His name is Tony Busby. He's a personal injury lawyer. He is, I believe his main office is out of Houston. Apparently, he's gotten either actually hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in personal injury compensation for his clients. And this is maybe slightly a different undertaking because when you think about personal injury, you think about slip and falls. Yo, your dog bit me. I don't know, your car hit my whatever. But we're not usually thinking about, oh, you had me in a freak off and doused me with baby oil and then penetrated me anally, okay? And we're going to see what the extent of this lawsuit is. From what we were told, they did give some information to TMZ. By the way, it didn't start yet. Did it start? No. Let's refresh. It ain't start yet. Not yet. Let me see. Did they have it? Say watch now. It didn't start yet. Okay. Anyway, again, it has ballooned to the 100 level. Apparently, and this is why everyone's kind of like curious to this, because we all know about the criminal investigation and the criminal indictment. Diddy's obviously charged there. However, we don't see anyone else who supposedly are co-conspirators, right? We like some of y'all just nosy, like, you know what I mean? Whether you care if he's guilty or not, some of y'all really want to know who's been into this weird behavior. So you want to hear names, right? And we haven't really heard the spicy names that kind of like make the story like jump off the page, even though, to be honest, I think just Diddy's name alone being involved in it should make it jump off the page. But apparently, this guy, Tony Busby, the lawyer, he says some of his clients include men. And we're like, oh, shit. The dudes are finally coming out saying they got anal. What the fuck?
Celebrities they love. I mean, there's a reason for this word fans. They're fanatics. I've personally already been threatened multiple times on social media. And when I agreed to pursue this, I expected as much. This isn't my first rodeo. But victims who step forward to have their voices heard should not be subjected to that kind of conduct. They should not be targeted. I want to say this, and I want to be clear about it. Although we are vetting each call as stringently as we can, I always start with a mindset that I believe victims. I believe victims because I understand the tremendous courage it takes to step forward. So if you're watching this, please hear me. If you're out there and you have been victimized, you are not alone. There is a great strength in numbers. You can seek redress. You can obtain justice. We can help you, and we will help you.
Yo, they got a hotline number in the background. This is crazy.
We are vetting every call that we receive. We have had to turn away some. For each, we ask for corroboration.
I know
For each,
the
we
sound
ask
is
for the
bad
identity
here.
of witnesses.
Shit.
We also have collected pictures, videos, texts.
Give me a second. I'm going to try to
We
watch
check
it on TV.
venues. We check dates. We want to corroborate that the claims being made have legitimacy and merit. Justice.
Okay, I think
We
we're
have
going to watch
on
it on
staff
TMZ
now a former.
because this link is fucked up. Here we go. Sorry.
That being said, as stated, we
some.
are vetting every call that we receive. We ask for corroboration. We have had to turn away some. For each, we ask for corroboration. We also have collected
For each. God. Jesus Christ. What type of live stream is this?
Also have collected pictures. We check videos. We check texts. We want to corroborate we check claims venues. We check dates. Legitimacy and merit. We want to corroborate we have claims on staff now.
Sorry, Chad. What the fuck? Why is he doing this?
Major offenders each unit of Houston Police Department who is helping using our common sense.
I don't know why this is doing
sense. Each claim. We're being stringent because, as I said, we're using our common sense. Easy cases. They're very tough. We're being stringent because, as I said, the process is hard. These are not easy cases. The process they're very tough. Lengthy.
All right, man. What the fuck? I think I gotta go to Fox News. I think Fox News is streaming this. Fuck. Fox News. I think they're streaming it. Diddy Press. God damn. Yeah, I realized the first link was fucked up. Where the fuck is this thing? Oh, why can't I watch it on this fucking page?
Individuals at this point to pursue cases in civil court against Sean Diddy Combs. It is evenly divided.
Oh my God, bro. Oh my God, bro. Hold on. Fox News, Tony Busby. Okay, here it is. Sorry.
We have an individual who was 14 years old. We have one who was 15.
What?
25 of the 120 individuals who are plaintiffs in these cases were minors at the time of the acts complained of. The time frame of the acts complained of is very wide. The conduct at issue spans from the years 1991 all the way till this year, 2024. If you wonder why there are so many alleged victims, that's your answer. We're talking about more than 25 years of this type of conduct. Now, although most of the victims who have stepped forward were victimized after 2015, this has been going on for a very long time. Now, when you think about the fact that some of this conduct occurred 25 years ago, and you wonder why would it take somebody so long to step forward, I want to remind you that many states in the United States have recognized that it's very difficult for a victim to step forward and to make these types of allegations when something very terrible has happened to them. I'll use New York, the state of New York, as an example. The state of New York has specific statutes in place that revive claims that are even claims that would typically be not able to be brought, that it revives such claims, and they can be brought even 25 to 30 years later. Because there's a recognition there in New York and California and other states that it's very difficult for a victim to come forward. And I would respectfully suggest the only reason many of these people are coming forward because they see other victims coming forward. And it gives them some comfort that, hey, I won't be the only one. And I expect more victims will come forward.
Are those victims to his left?
A lie has great speed, but truth has endurance. The acts complained of in these cases that we're going to file occurred primarily in New York, either Manhattan or the Hamptons, or occurred in California, primarily in Los Angeles, or in Florida, primarily in Miami.
Star Island.
Most of these events and incidents occurred at parties, typically after parties, or album release parties, New Year's Eve parties, 4th of July parties, something they called a puppy party, the all-white party, although several of these events occurred at auditions. Many times, especially young people wanting to break into the industry, were coerced into this type of conduct in the promise of being made a star or in the promise of having Sean Combs listen to their tape or even let them read for Sean Combs. You should know that some of this behavior occurred at well-known venues in New York City. Some of this behavior occurred at private residences of people that we all know. Some of this behavior occurred at hotels that we're all familiar with. You should know that more than 55% of the victims filed reported this conduct to either the authorities, that is the police, or to hospitals. We're in the process of collecting with our team assistants medical records, reports that were made to the authorities, and I've already said that some of the individuals in this group did in fact talk to the FBI. You should know that several of the individuals, and when I say several, I mean many, who did in fact seek medical treatment were drug tested, and drugs were found in their system, weird drugs that you probably never heard of. One in particular that continues to pop up is a drug called xylazine or trank, which,
what's that?
Based on our research, is known as a horse tranquilizer.
Trank.
Now, there's been a lot of reports that we're filing a class action. This is not a class action. Class action is when one or two people file a case on behalf of a group of people. That's not this. These cases will be individual cases. Each case will live and die on its own merit.
Wow.
These cases will be filed individually, one plaintiff against whoever the defendants were involved in the case. Each case may be filed in one venue like California. Another case may be filed in New York. One case may sue just Sean Combs, but multiple other people. One case may sue a range of people. I would expect most, though, to be filed, as I said, thinking or hoping, or perhaps believing that I may start naming names. Well, that day will come, but it won't be today. The day will come when we will name names other than Sean Combs, and there's a lot of names. It's a long list already. And of course, I already know who some of these individuals are, but because of the nature of this case, we're going to make damn sure that we're right before we do that. But the names that we're going to name, assuming that our investigators confirm and corroborate what we've been told, are names that will shock you. These are individual cases. There are indeed other perpetrators involved. They will be revealed when that particular individual case is ready to be filed. They already know who they are. And I'm talking here about not just the cowardly but complicit bystanders. That is, those people that we know watched this behavior occur and did nothing. And I'm talking about the people that participated, encouraged it, egged it on. They know who they are. I call them the facilitators of foul play, willing participants in vile conduct. As we identify them, each will be part of this case as defendants. These defendants will not only include individuals, but would also include corporate entities who ultimately profited off of this culture and behavior. I'm looking at banks, pharmaceutical companies, hotels,
liquor companies.
We know that many of these individuals were paid cash. We know that many of these individuals involved, whether they were the ones being assaulted and abused or they're witnessing other people being assaulted and abused and then paid and threatened and told to leave. Typically paid 10 grand in cash and told to leave. And then threatened as they were leaving. So in addition to Sean Combs, you should know the defendants in these cases we're going to file will include anyone, of course, who engaged in the assault or exploitation, anyone who participated in such in any way, anyone who encouraged or facilitated this conduct, anyone who was in the room and watched it happen but made no effort to stop it, any venue or venue owner who was aware of what was going on but failed to stop it, any individual or entity who knew about the conduct and benefited from it but did nothing to report it or stop it, and any individual or entity who covered it up or helped cover it up. These people who know who they are should just come forward now. I would imagine, as we speak here, there are a myriad of people who are very nervous. You can't hide skeletons in the closet forever. I would expect there are many people out there right now who are desperately searching their memories as they delete their texts and data. Now, although these are, in fact, individual cases, there is a common theme, an MO, if you will. Typically, the victim is lured into a situation where he or she is given a drink. Typically, that drink, reported by these victims, is apparently laced with something. Once that drink takes effect, the perpetrators perform all kinds of sexual acts on the victims, many times passing him or her around as other people watch and enjoy the show, and then leave the victim ashamed, confused, injured, and wondering what happened. When the victim reaches out, he or she is told not to say anything. Sometimes there are threats of physical violence or financial repercussions or bodily harm. The claims we intend to bring will include the following: violent sexual assault or rape, sexual abuse, facilitated sex with a controlled substance, false imprisonment, compelling prostitution, sexual misconduct, dissemination of video recordings, false imprisonment, sexual abuse of minors. Given the large volume of cases and given our other docket obligations, and given the fact that we want to be sure when we file these cases that they are fully vetted, I expect we'll start filing these cases against Sean Combs and other perpetrators within the next 30 days. Now, it's rare, sexual abuse, sexual exploitation, this type of activity is pervasive in our society, and it's rare we get a chance where we can really focus on this as a country and really focus on this about how pervasive this is and what we as collectively can do about it. So I thought I'd take this opportunity before I go into some of the individual cases and talk about some of the individual claims being made and so you'll get a sense of what this 120 people group looks like individually. I want to bring forward Carrie Paul. She's a national victim advocate who helps victims who have been victimized by this type of conduct. And she has some important words, and I hope you'll pay close attention. I think it's important that you hear from her.
Hello, I'm Carrie Paul with the National Victim Advocate. It's not easy for any survivor to come forward. Our culture doesn't believe survivors. It blames and questions them. Instead of showing support, many choose to enable abusers. The media runs stories asking why it took so long for survivors to come forward instead of asking what barriers exist. We also don't equip law enforcement with the ability to handle sexual assault crimes. Lack of funding translates to lack of training. We have officers in the field that don't know what to say to a rape victim, and also an alarming amount of backlogged, untested rape kits. Prosecutors are focused on what they can prove in a case, and if so, how to do that at time of trial. Advocates and staff are stretched thin with growing caseloads in the criminal justice system. Most people don't know how the criminal justice works in general. There isn't enough staff or resources to adequately explain the entire process to every victim and survivor. Our culture works against victims and survivors every day, and abusers know this. Abusers work themselves into positions of power, building a public image that is trusted and financially large enough to make people look away. Abusers are unfortunately very skilled at power and control, the foundation of abuse.
I'm trying to hear some names. I ain't gonna lie to you.
They seek victims who are vulnerable, such as children, their employees, and their intimate partners, all who see a different version than the public does, all who rely on the abuser in some way. And for those that do come forward and aren't believed, face questions like, are you sure it happened that way? Were you drinking? What were you wearing? All of this creates an environment that enables abusers to continue abusing them and future victims. To the survivors that have come forward despite not being believed at some point in time, your courage is like nothing we have seen before. We thank you for coming forward for yourself and all survivors. And lastly, I want all survivors that are watching this to know we believe you and we support you. Thank you.
I want you now to hear from my co-counsel, Andrew Van Arsdale. We've created a sexual abuse hotline, and I want him to visit with us just a few moments about how that works.
Yo, they got a Diddy hotline. I'm done.
Thank you, Tony.
I gotta call
like
this
Tony
shit.
said, my name is Andrew Van Arsdale. I'm the managing partner of Baby A Law Group. We have offices in California, Montana, and North.
Chat. Let me call this hotline. I just want to see what it's hitting for. I ain't gonna hold you. Move, nigga. Is that 200? They got a hotline in the background, gang. 7474. Let me see. I'm about to see what this shit's hitting for. The phone stopped ringing.
P. Diddy Abuse Helpline. This call is being recorded and your responses will be recorded exactly as you state them and reviewed by a...
What the bumbo clot? Wait, there's this shit. Yo, chat, I swear I called it number. I swear. I'm doing it again. I hung up. I'm calling it. Oh, it's busy now. Call back. Yo, chat, I can't believe that shit. Oh, it's busy. I shouldn't have hung up. Now the other people who got touched gonna get there before me. I want to report my touching. Pause. Damn, it's busy now. This shit going crazy. Fuck. Yo, chat. Yo, did y'all hear that? My mic was muted? Yo, it says this is a P. Diddy hotline, bro. I'm done. Did y'all hear that? Hold on, I gotta call this shit back. No fucking way. Fuck. All right, let's get back to this. Jesus Christ, we don't call
The
this.
same sort of events happening. People thrust into the circle reportedly, and horrible things happening to them as a result. And from talking to these people that have come forward these past 10 days, I can tell you unequivocally that because the federal government did what it needed to do and indicted this man, that they put him in jail and a judge kept him in jail, they tell me directly, this validates my feelings. For so long, I thought it was my fault. What is it about me that put myself in that scenario? What was I wearing at the time? What did I do to be subjected to such horrific treatment at these people that I was trying to trust? Well, we know now it was not your fault. You were victimized by a group of powerful people that operated for 30 plus years, taking advantage of their wealth and the power that they held within the music industry. So again, thank you to every single person that has come forward and contacted our office over the past 10 days. If you or someone you know suffered the same sort of treatment, please contact us at the number behind me and we will help you. Thank you.
This is crazy.
I think it speaks to how important this issue is in the United States.
These niggas have a 1-800 number.
Reputable people here that want to provide kind of information that I think victims need to hear, witnesses need to hear, the public needs to hear. Let me introduce to you now Olivia Rivers from the Texas Association Against Sexual Assault, and let her visit with you a few moments about these types of cases.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Q Olivia Rivers. I am just served my 6th year as the board chair for the Texas Association Against Sexual Assault. I'm also the CEO for the Bridge Over Troubled Waters, which is a local rape crisis center here in the Houston area. So thank you for being here as we address these heinous crimes. Sexual assault is not just a crime of violence against the body. It's an assault on the very essence of human dignity and safety. It shatters lives, it destroys confidence, and all too often, it leaves survivors feeling like they are voiceless, isolated, and vulnerable. The reality for many survivors is that coming forward to report their assault is one of the most difficult and daunting tasks that they will ever have to do. And for some, it may take days, months, or even years to speak up, if they ever do. The reasons for this have been mentioned, but include the fear of being disbelieved, being blamed or judged, and, of course, retaliation. The trauma of the assault itself being compounded by the trauma of the criminal justice process, where survivors must relive their experience in order to seek justice. And these feelings and fears are further exacerbated when the allegations are against prominent figures in the entertainment industry or Hollywood. Cases involving powerful figures often attract significant media attention, which can deter victims from coming forward due to fear of public exposure or scrutiny. The intense focus on these high-profile cases can make survivors feel that their personal lives are being put under a microscope, causing further emotional distress. These allegations mentioned here today, as reported, reflect deeply troubling claims that deserve thorough investigation, and no individual, regardless of their stature, is above the law or public accountability. Sadly, the statistics paint a very disturbing picture. According to the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men will experience some form of sexual violence in their lifetime. In the U.S. alone, there are approximately 463,000 victims of rape or sexual assault every year, and these numbers barely scratch the surface, as sexual violence remains one of the most underreported crimes. But the numbers that follow tell an even more troubling story. Only about 23% of sexual assaults are reported to law enforcement. Of those, just 5% lead to an arrest, and even fewer, less than 1% of reported cases, ever result in a conviction, which is a devastating gap between the crime and the justice that survivors deserve. I want to briefly focus on our state here in Texas. According to the Texas Association Against Sexual Assault, 6.3 million Texans, men and women, will experience some form of violence. That's every 2 minutes someone is sexually assaulted, meaning during the course of this press conference, around 60 individuals will forever be changed by this violence. And those are just a few of the victims. Obviously, this is unacceptable. We cannot allow this cycle of silence and inaction to continue. We have to create an environment where survivors feel empowered to come forward, where they are met with empathy and respect and support, not skepticism and blame. We have to ensure that our legal system is equipped to handle these cases with the seriousness they deserve, and that survivors have access to the resources that they need beyond the legal courtroom. We have to address the root causes of this epidemic: prevention, awareness, and fostering environments where respect, consent, and safety are non-negotiable values. Additionally, support for survivors has to be holistic. They have to have access to counseling, medical services, legal advocacy, and of course, community support, regardless of whether they choose to report or not. To every survivor who has come forward, your bravery is an inspiration. To those who are still grappling with their decision, know that you are not alone and that your voice matters. Your story matters. We see you, we believe you, and we are committed to fighting for a future where sexual violence is no longer tolerated and where justice is not the exception, but the standard. Thank you.
I want to visit with you real quickly before we close here about some specific instances without disclosing the victim's name. You probably know that depending on the age of the victim, you can file these cases, these individual cases, under Jane Doe or John Doe. Each state is different in that respect. Typically, there is a balancing test, like the public's right to know the name of the victim and plaintiff versus the confidentiality and the safety of the plaintiff. So we'll have to struggle with that with each one of these cases. Our intention, of course, is to, like we always do, file these cases under a pseudonym until the court tells us otherwise. But let me share with you a few, just kind of give you a sense of the kind of cases and the kind of instances that people are calling and reporting that we are trying to corroborate, vet, and these are the ones that we've already corroborated, vetted, and collected evidence on. One individual who was 22 years at the time she was assaulted said that the typical MO at one of these parties that have been widely discussed in the press was that when you were handed a drink, and now we know that the drink is laced with something, if you refused to drink it, you were kicked out of the party. Now, let that sink in for a minute. I mean, the admission to this party was that you had to drink the chosen drink that was handed to you, and now we know that in most cases, I would say 90% of the cases, these individuals were drugged with some sort of drug. That was kind of the MO. Another instance, this individual who was 9 years old at the time was taken to an audition in New York City with Bad Boy Records. Other boys were there to audition as well. All of them were trying to land a record deal. All of them were minors. This individual was sexually abused, allegedly by Sean Combs, and several other people at the studio in the promise to both his parents and to him himself of getting a record deal. Another instance, another minor, told allegedly by Sean Combs that he would make him a star, but he needed to visit with him in private about it, away from his parents. Once they were in a private area, allegedly Mr. Combs made the victim perform oral sex upon him. Another incident, an individual 15 years old at the time, flown to New York City to attend a party,
What?
was drugged, and then taken into a private room, allegedly in the presence of Mr. Combs, where this female individual, minor, was raped, and then other individuals took turns raping her. Another individual, 26 at the time of the occurrence, was picked up allegedly by Mr. Combs and several other people.
Boy, ain't no way.
In a black SUV from the airport, was given one drink in the SUV, and then literally woke up the next day not knowing what had happened, but with pain and damage to both her vagina and her anus, where she then went to the hospital. She was missing her underwear and her shoes. Another instance, an individual, this time not a minor,
That's crazy.
attended a group dinner, allegedly with Sean Combs in Miami. She wasn't drinking because she was pregnant, but whatever she drank at the table, apparently, at least according to her, was laced with something. She blacked out, and she woke up in the same bed, again allegedly, with Mr. Combs in his mansion in Miami.
She drank a laced drink. It wasn't even liquor.
Weakness were torn and sore. And I could go on. I mean, literally, you're sensing a theme here. It's the same theme, and it all involves some sort of drug. One instance, an individual who was 20 years old at the time was asked to attend, just saw her on the street, asked to attend a party in a hotel. She was flattered, went to the party, was given one drink and doesn't remember anything else. Ultimately, was so messed up, went to the hospital where they found cocaine and this horse tranquilizer in her blood system. I want to give you a quote from a very young man who told us over the phone about his experience and all the things that happened to him. He says allegedly at the hands of Sean Diddy Combs and his friends in the effort to try to sign a record deal. This was kind of what he was told he would have to do. His quote is, "Had he not been in power, I feel like I could have been something great. I quit the industry because of what Sean Combs did to me." And that's really what it comes down to. We are pursuing this, asking you to support this effort, to encourage witnesses and victims to come forward and bring your evidence so we can continue to break down this wall of silence and we can continue to have these stories heard. This is the beginning of what I hope to be a national dialogue. This type of sexual assault, sexual abuse, and sexual exploitation should never happen in the United States or anywhere else. This should have never been allowed to go on for so long. This conduct has created a mass of individuals who are injured, scared, and scarred. If you are one of those individuals, we ask you to reach out. If not to us, to someone you trust. If you are someone who witnessed any of these events, we ask you to reach out. Your name can remain confidential. With that, I'll take a few questions, not many, maybe two, but if you have a question, I'll be pleased to try to answer it. Perfect.
How many minors are making accusations in total?
How many minors are asking?
Of the allegations of minors in the case?
I don't know what the feds are aware of, okay, but I do know it's 25 out of this 120.
25 minors.
Tony, are
But I will say this to that point. We welcome the FBI or any authority who wants to come to us, and we're going to make that available to these victims because I think that's important. My suspicion is, based on talking with these folks, is that the FBI is just not aware of these people. The FBI has talked to some of these folks, and I'm going to try to encourage the victims to, in fact, talk to the FBI because I think they have some very important things to say.
Tony, were all of the children auditioning because they were musicians, or were any of them kids of employees or anything like that?
All seeking either TV or some sort of music career with promises of, we're going to make you a star. Instead, basically did things to them such that they don't want to have anything to do with the entertainment industry ever again. All right, guys. Thank you very much for your attention. We're going to go now. Thank you.
Tony, do you anticipate any Houston cases?
Any filed here?
Locally, yeah.
There's a few plaintiffs here, but I don't anticipate filing them here. Probably in New York City.
Thank you.
It appears that the lawsuit still hasn't been filed. The hotline, I think, bro, the hotline been busy since, I don't know how I got through the first time. Yeah, it's been busy ever since. Shit, I should have left my message. Damn. So we could go back because it details, it says a 9-year-old boy who claims Diddy force him to give.
For 30 plus.
Troubling story.
Wait, let's go back to that.
To both his parents, and who were handed a drink of the victim and plaintiff versus the typical MO at one of these parties. All of them were trying to land a record deal. All of them were minors. This individual was sexually abused, allegedly by Sean Combs and several other people at the studio, in the promise to both his parents and to him himself of getting a record deal. Another instance, another minor, told allegedly by Sean Combs that he would make him a star, but he needed to visit with him in private about it, away from his parents. Once they were in a private area, allegedly Mr. Combs made the victim perform oral sex upon him. Another incident, an individual 15 years old at the time, flown to New York City to attend.
I'm gonna be honest with you. So, so this is my thought, and tell me if I'm tripping, right? So all along this whole thing going on, I think very initially I'm like, all right, Diddy's a freaky boy. Then I'm like, well, not only is he a freaky, kinky nigga who is doing these freak offs, he might have been like having these people extra drugged out, and also might have been having all these sex workers around, and who knows, like he probably did some of this shit, right? Because it's just too much, right? But I still at that point didn't put him in the same like thing as like Epstein. Like Epstein, like if you ever watch the documentaries about Epstein was like deliberately, offering, and even Peter Nygaard as well. Nygaard more than Epstein, but there's more just stuff on Epstein. Or at least more documentaries because he was more famous, I guess. But Peter Nygaard, I believe, Peter Nygaard? Is that his name? Yeah, I believe so. Was a guy, I think he was from he was from a bunch of different places, but he lived in Winnipeg. And what would happen is that he would offer, like, he was a fashion executive, and he would get these young women who were like 15, 16 and be like, hey, I'm going to turn you into a supermodel. However, for them to be a supermodel, they had to fuck them. You get what I'm saying? And obviously, ultimately was taken down. I thought with the Diddy thing, y'all tell me if y'all were thinking different. I didn't think I would hear that. Oh, he brought me into his office, or he met with me and he said, if you want to become a star, you got to suck my dick. I thought he was just having these after hours wild parties that were probably frequented by God knows who, but not him using the yo, if you want to get in the game, you got to suck me off. Which, if that's the case, and these allegations by these, obviously these potential civil lawsuits or civil plaintiffs are essentially spelling out Diddy using the entrance to the music industry as a way to solicit sex, and it appears from men and women alike, and definitely from underage individuals, which is extremely troubling, right? Wow.
And a party, was drugged, and then taken into a private room, allegedly in the presence of Mr. Combs, where this female individual, minor, was raped, and then other individuals took turns raping her. Another individual, 26 at the time of the occurrence, was picked up allegedly by Mr. Combs and several other people in a black SUV from the airport, was given one drink in the SUV, and then literally woke up the next day not knowing what had happened, but with pain and damage to both her vagina and her anus, where she then went to the hospital. She was missing her underwear and her shoes. Another instance, an individual.
This is like troubling, right? Okay, if that happens, doesn't the police investigate it to see, especially because if these incidents happen from 1991 till now, the further you get away from the date of when it happened, the least amount of evidence you're going to be able to preserve. So, okay, cool. Some of them went to the hospital. I don't know necessarily the process with the hospital. Shouldn't the hospital then be like, hey, listen, if you have trauma to your anus and vagina, and all you last remember is hopping in a car and taking one drink, and then they run your blood probably, and they find out that you have horse tranquilizer or whatever the hell in your blood and cocaine, I think maybe it's probably, I don't work in the healthcare system, but somebody could let me know. If a 15-year-old blacks out, has pain in their anus and pussy, you then, as a health professional, you confirm it. You then basically run their blood, realize that they were clearly drugged. You're finding these illegal substances in their blood. Don't you have to call the police? I don't think you'd be like, all right, yo, you good? You go back home now. I think you got to. So there has to be an investigation that happened. And I think we all agreed that, with minors, it's easier to get these charges laid down, right? Yo, why the fuck are you even giving alcohol or any type of drugs to a minor, right? That's already a charge. So when you hear shit like this, you're like, damn, how did all this shit skate by?
This time, not a minor, attended a group dinner, allegedly with Sean Combs. And
somebody says you must report violent crimes if you work in a hospital. Dita says New York City in the 90s, everything was a go. Someone says she wasn't a minor, she was 26. Oh, Chrissy, thank you for that.
Miami. She wasn't drinking because she was pregnant, but whatever she drank.
Cupcake. I see you. I'm not. Listen, we're at the point now that I ain't gonna lie. 120 do sound wild, but we can't call cap on nothing. We gotta assume if 1 million people come out against Diddy, you kind of gotta give every one of them at least a time of day to look through it, right? Just because there's just too much smoke around Diddy at this point, which you just can't. Sometimes people will be like, nah, I think these people are lying. They're just too much other circumstances that kind of make it look like not everybody's lying, even if there are some liars, right? So what I'm talking about is not if they're telling the truth or not. I guess what I'm talking about is that, obviously at this point, if they're not involved in this criminal proceeding against Diddy, there is going to be no recourse on a criminal level for what supposedly happened to these people, so they're pursuing it civilly. But I'm wondering if these things are what we're hearing, the police must have got involved in some of them, right? You go to the hospital, your fucking ass is bleeding, your pussy is bleeding, you don't remember nothing, you took one drink. They're going to look into that, right? They're going to look into that. So that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I'm wondering if the rabbit hole gets deeper, where like Diddy was like thwarting these like investigations, or he knew how to, like maybe in certain precincts, or I don't know, New York City, like or wherever, Miami, he knew how to, because that's what kind of Jeffrey Epstein kind of not necessarily was doing directly, but when the allegations came about him and the young women for Jeffrey Epstein, law enforcement was pretty much like kind of sitting on their hands because they're like, yo, it's Jeffrey Epstein. So when they would normally have acted and been more proactive with someone else, it was Jeffrey Epstein. So they were kind of like, what do we do until it start mounting, okay? So I'm wondering, how the hell do we not hear a peep of this? How the hell we don't hear about none of that?
I think at the table, apparently, at least according to her, was laced with something. She blacked out, and she woke up in the same bed, again, allegedly, with Mr. Combs.
Albert Sky says, Diddy clapped B5. Might be thank for the donation. It says, Diddy clapped B5 for their deal. Would not be surprised if one of them are the victims. Hashtag laced baby oil. What?
In his mansion in Miami, her vagina and her anus were torn and sore. And I could go on. I mean, literally, you're sensing a theme here. It's the same theme, and it all involves some sort of drug. One instance, an individual who was 20 years old at the time was asked to attend, just saw her on the street, asked to attend a party in a hotel. She was flattered, went to the party, was given one drink and doesn't remember anything else. Ultimately, was so messed up, went to the hospital where they found cocaine and this horse tranquilizer in her blood system. I want to give you a quote from a very young man who told us over the phone about his experience and all the things that happened to him, he says, allegedly at the hands of Sean Diddy Combs and his friends in the effort to try to sign a
we got
deal.
it, Chad.
Your call may be recorded for call quality assurance purposes. Thank you for calling the Sean P. Diddy Abuse Helpline. This call is being recorded and your responses will be recorded exactly as you state them and reviewed by our staff and legal counsel. The information you provide is very important should you have a case. You may be asked to verify your responses by affidavit, so your complete honesty is crucial. If you agree to provide accurate information to the best of your knowledge under penalty of perjury, please press 1. Otherwise, please disconnect the phone call now.
Should I press 1? I'm not sworn into court.
Thank you for calling the Sean P. Diddy Abuse Helpline. This call is being recorded and your responses will be recorded exactly as you state them and reviewed by our staff and legal counsel. The information you provide is very important should you have a case. You may be asked to verify your responses by affidavit, so your complete honesty is crucial. If you agree to provide accurate information to the best of your knowledge under penalty of perjury, please press 1.
Chad, should I call back? I don't know. I hung up. Should I call back? Like, I'm going to keep it a bean with you. I was just going to submit a report on behalf of my brother from Philly, Meek Mill. I was going to be like, hey, yo, this Meek Millie right here, you know what I mean? The realest nigga out of Philly. I'm in the trenches right now, rolling on the wrist. Did he fuck? I'm sorry. Like, I got to be honest with you now, okay? He took me shopping afterwards. He made me call him daddy. You get what I'm saying? I got to put in a report for my boy. I got to do it. Okay? Now, the only reason why I don't want to get into none of this shit, you know what I mean? I don't even want to civil somebody be like, yo, you defame none of that shit. You know what I mean? But I was going to put in a report, you know what I mean? Sometimes, am I my brother's keeper? Pause. No. But anyway. Yeah. You just be like, yo, the video's online. He told me I deserved it, daddy, after he penetrated. I'm like, damn, crazy. Damn, this shit is... Yo, a Diddy hotline is crazy, nigga. This is like calling Capital One or American Express. You ever call Geico? Thank you for calling Geico. If you are in a safe location and you need roadside assistance, please press 1. They should have had this thing a little bit more thugged out. Thank you for calling the P. Diddy hotline. Mill, your direct line, press 4. Like, come on, bro.
This was kind of what he was told he would have to do. His quote is, "Had he not been in power, I feel like I could have been something great. I quit the industry because of what Sean Combs did to me." And that's really what it comes down to. We are pursuing this, asking you to support this effort, to encourage witnesses and victims to come forward and bring your evidence so we can continue to break down this wall of silence and we can continue to have these stories heard. This is the beginning of what I hope to be a national dialogue. This type of sexual assault,
What, did he go past the 9-year-old one yet? That's the one that's like most disturbing, right?
audition in one of these parties that are
Yeah, the 9-year-old, the one where he said 9-year-old, like that sends chills. You know what I mean? Like you get like, ooh, what the fuck?
been widely discussed in the press was that when you were handed a drink, and now we know that the drink is laced with something, if you refused to drink it, you were kicked out of the party. Now, let that sink in for a minute. I mean, the admission to this party was that you had to drink the chosen drink that was handed to you, and now we know that in most cases, I would say 90% of the cases, these individuals were drugged with some sort of drug. That was kind of the MO. Another instance, this individual who was 9 years old at the time was taken to a audition in New York City with Bad Boy Records.
This is the most alarming one. Now, here's the thing. In corroborate, so here's the thing. Obviously, I could imagine this lawyer, his law firm, has a shit ton of investigators because you have to corroborate these claims. So, if you guys, so you know what, and I think we haven't heard from him in a while, since like we heard that he got referred to the sanctioning committees, but it was the guy who actually, he sued Diddy and he put UMG and like Lucian Grange in there. And UMG lawyers went so hard on him, he basically apologized and took them out of the lawsuit. They still refer him to, and we're talking about, what's that lawyer's name? Tyrone Blackburn, right? What he was doing is just filing these lawsuits without vetting stuff, right? You know, and when you're filing a lawsuit with very clear errors, like, yo, this person was underage, like you like he claimed in his lawsuit, and then those people came out and like, that's me in that picture, and I wasn't underage. You know, you basically, a lawyer, right, that's certified by the bar has like a duty to do their due diligence to file lawsuits only that they believe hold merit. They can't just abuse the court system and clog up that system that is supposed to exist to serve justice and actually be at the benefit of people who were wronged, right? So he has 120 cases that he's taken. I don't know if he's going to file 120. What we did know by his opening statements, he says there is no class action lawsuit. They're all going to be filed individually. He said towards the end of it that this is going to be, I'm probably done in New York because people, they were asking because he's in Houston there. Hey, are you doing any of this in Houston? He clearly made it very clear that no, I'm going to do it most likely in New York. So I could imagine he has a bunch of investigators who are going to try to corroborate these details. How could they do it? So let's say it happens even in 2001, right? Yo, this dude said he had a meeting with Diddy at the New York offices, the Bad Boy offices. Well, somehow you got to go try to prove that. Did he have an actual meeting? Because here's the thing: if there was no actual meeting, there can't be a case. So I guess it would have something to verify that. Maybe they would have like flight records from the kid or the kid's mom. And from there on, some of this is going to get circumstantial unless these individuals, which this is a possibility as well, some of these people might be unnamed, obviously the feds did their own investigation and come up with criminal charges, but some of these individuals might be on the Diddy tapes. So if we're hearing that the feds have terabytes, like hundreds of hours of tapes, not necessarily of sexual activity, but just tapes, but include some sexual activity, obviously, they probably are going to focus on the ones that contain the victim that they currently have, which is Cassie. All right, we got Cassie on these. But if we're hearing that this guy is such a sexual deviant and has so many different tapes, there probably is a bunch of people who have been on these tapes that the feds don't know who they are. So I think things like this, I would imagine the feds would hit these people up and be like, hey, listen, we could do some type of, arrangement where this is kept secret because we're still probably convening another grand jury. And we want to know if any of these people that were all caught on this tape are any of your clients, because now we need to interview them. So I think this guy just helped the feds a lot if any of these people really are victims, if you get what I mean.
Other boys were there to audition as well. All of them were trying to land a record deal. All of them were minors. This individual was sexually abused, allegedly by Sean Combs and several other people at the studio, in the promise to both his parents and to him himself of getting a record deal. Another instance, another minor, told allegedly by Sean Combs that he would make him a star, but he needed to visit with him in private about it, away from his parents. Once
sounds sus, right? You're a minor, but I need to talk to you away from your parents. What?
They were in a private area. Allegedly, Mr. Combs made the victim perform oral sex upon him. Another incident, an individual 15 years old at the time, flown to New York City to attend a party, was drugged, and then taken into a private room, allegedly in the presence of Mr. Combs, where this female individual, minor, was raped, and then other individuals took turns raping her. Another individual, 26 at the time of the occurrence, was picked up allegedly by Mr. Combs and several other people.
By the way, I will add, right? I will add that I 100% believe, and we're gonna go back to this part. It's earlier in his press conference where we want to hear the names. I feel the names are gonna be the names of people who are quiet now. Like I know he didn't say names, but I think we could reasonably come down to a list of names that would be probably in the running, especially in the realm of the ones who allegedly were in the room or could have stopped this, but allegedly didn't. Everybody who has refused to ever speak probably fits within the victim bucket or, hey, I was having fun with Diddy doing God's know what with God knows who.
In a black SUV from the airport, was given one drink in the SUV, and then literally woke up the next day not knowing what had happened, but with pain and damage to both her vagina and her anus, where she then went to the hospital. She was missing her underwear and her shoes. Another instance, an individual, this time not a minor, attended a group dinner.
Albert Sky, thank you for the 10, bro. He says, Diddy is cooked. When they make a hotline for you like the National Suicide Hotline, it's a real problem. Bill Cosby didn't have one, and he was a nightclub pharmacist. That is wild. This is wild. Now, remember I told you at the beginning of this, right? I told you right as soon as I heard the 50 potential plaintiffs. I'm predicting that Diddy, I'm going to say 3 years. And again, these are not desires of mine. I'm just trying to be neutral and predict, right? I believe Diddy will file for bankruptcy in about 3 to 4 years. I'm going to say 3 to 4 years. Actually, let me say 3 to 5. Why? Whether he beats the case or not, and definitely, especially if he doesn't beat the case, with all of these civil suits mounting, bro, you know what I mean? I think he's just going to file bankruptcy. Again, I'm not saying he has to pay out on everything, but this is clear that it's no way that when Diddy's done doing everything he got to do, he's going to spend in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and not even necessarily on payouts, but just defending himself. From what I've heard, he has a burn rate of $2 million per month on attorneys. Then I hear he has 3 different groups of private investigators. He still has expenses, even though he's consolidating. He's selling his LA crib. Revenue at this point is kind of limited to music and, his rumored like $300 or $400 million settlement from Diageo. Again, the longer this drags out, the more people that come around. He tried to get as liquid as possible to create a war chest, but it's going to keep dwindling. This looks like it could be a long fight.
Allegedly with Sean Combs in Miami. She wasn't drinking because she was pregnant, but whatever she drank at the table, apparently, at least according to her, was laced with something. She blacked out, and she woke up in the same bed, again, allegedly, with Mr. Combs in his mansion in Miami.
Yeah, that was shocking. Is this one where the woman is pregnant?
Out.
Wait.
She was pregnant. Sean Combs in Miami. Was another instance, the individual.
Now, again, these are still allegations. Obviously, even though we say that, we're not going to be like, oh, fuck it, they're probably lying. We just can't say that at the moment just because Diddy's too many, bro. Like, it's too many. Come on, dog. If the woman is pregnant and Diddy knows this, and if Diddy gives her an alcohol beverage, that's even a different type of evil. Now, obviously, we could also argue if you're pregnant, why are you ingesting anything? But did they say it was alcoholic, though? I don't know if they did.
Individual, this time not a minor, attended a group dinner.
It's a group dinner.
Allegedly with Sean Combs in Miami. She wasn't drinking because
Okay, so she wasn't drinking.
She was pregnant.
What the fuck is this GHB shit? GHB. Like, how does it look? Is it like a pill? Or it's in a syringe? Gamma hydroxybutyrate? Is it an antidepressant? Or it's a depressant drug, which means it slows down messages traveling to the brain and body. It looks colorless, odorless, bitter or salty liquid, often sold in small bottles or vials. It can come as bright blue liquid known as blue nitro, and less commonly as crystal powder. Other names is juice, liquid ecstasy, liquid E, liquid X, Georgia Homeboy, Soap, Scoop, Cherry Meth, Blue Nitro, Fishies, Fanta Frank. I thought this was the date R-word drug, right? That's not what it is?
But whatever she drank at the table, apparently, at least according to her, was laced with something. She blacked out, and she woke up in the same bed, again, allegedly, with Mr. Combs in his mansion in Miami. Her vagina and her anus were torn and sore.
Did she go to the hospital?
And I could go on. I mean,
that's alarming. If you weren't drinking or ingesting any type of drugs and you just passed out, you blacked out and woke up with a strange man in your bed, or you're in his bed, your ass and your pussy's hurting. Like, I would imagine you instantly got to go to the hospital, especially if you're pregnant, right?
I mean, literally, you're sensing a theme here. It's
all right. Let's go to the beginning where he said, we were all waiting for names.
If you're out there and you have been victimized, you are not alone. There is a great strength in numbers. You can seek redress. You can obtain justice. We can help you, and we will help you. That being said, as stated, we are vetting every call that we receive.
Yo, Ruben Gonzalez, what are you talking about? He said, in Texas, we call GHB water. What?
We have had to turn away some. For each we ask for corroboration. For each, we ask for the identity of witnesses. We also have collected pictures, videos, texts. We check venues, we check dates. We want to corroborate that the claims being made have legitimacy and merit. We have on staff now a former detective from the Major Offenders Unit of Houston Police Department who is helping us vet each claim. We're using our common sense. We're being stringent because, as I said, these are not easy cases. They're very tough. The process is hard, and in some cases, the process is very lengthy. These cases are hard to prove. Many times it's the victim's word against the alleged perpetrator. Each of these victims will no doubt be publicly attacked by the alleged perpetrators, and in some cases, the general public.
Did he say if he's going to file them by name, or he's going to do, let's say if he takes all 120 in complaints, is he going to do Jane Doe's and John Doe's? Because I'm pretty sure people are going to try to do their background, and obviously, well, here's the thing too. Diddy and his lawyers are going to try their best to make sure the people are named, but who knows?
And cowardly keyboard warriors love to attack. We know what we're up against. We did not enter this fray blindly. I wish it was my last such fray. I wish this type of behavior wasn't so pervasive, but it is what it is, so we will press on. As I said, our law firms have been retained by 120 individuals at this point to pursue cases in civil court against Sean Diddy Combs. You should know, in this group, it is evenly divided between males and females. There are 60 males and 60 females.
Shraggy?
Who have joined us to pursue these claims.
60 niggas. Yo, when you ask Diddy his body count, man, he probably look at you like, Playboy, you talking about women or niggas?
As plaintiffs. In this group, 62% identify as African American, 30% are white, and the remainder are Hispanic or Asian. The victims are from more than 25 states. The majority are from California, New York, Georgia, and Florida. I don't want to focus on the ages of these victims. When we talk about the ages of the victims when the conduct occurred, it's shocking. Our youngest victim at the time of the occurrence was 9 years old. We have an individual who was 14 years old. We have one who was 15. 25.
By the way, Dan, I see you in the chat. He says, Zach, let's do a FaceTime about this because I learned more about the case now than I have in the past few weeks. You're giving Lawyers for Workers a run for his money. Shout out to Lawyer for Workers, by the way. Wow. Jeez. Man, I'm not going to lie, man. Like, dog. Yo, I don't. Yo, I think 3 months ago, I was like, damn, this is as bad as it's going to get for Diddy. Maybe it'll get a little bit better. I think it's gotten progressively worse like every day. Like every day. And by the way, I know they said that Diddy is out of, what do you call it again? The suicide watch or whatever. They got to put him back in. Like, bro, imagine when your lawyer comes or like they come clank on your cell and being like, yo, bro, 120 more people came forward, including 60 niggas who says you fucked them. What? Like, Diddy might be looking for any type of shoestring or anything he could find. He might be trying to get out of here. So I do think 100% we got to keep an eye on Diddy because not only for his own health and safety, but also for this other element that we're probably going to see this guy talk about, which is these other people. It appears, again, we keep hearing other people, some people who are famous, some people who won't shock you, some people who will shock you. We're like, who? Shit, maybe right now is the moment those people are like, yo, we got to get this nigga the fuck out of here. To protect us, Diddy has to go now.
Of the 120 individuals who are plaintiffs in these cases were minors at the time of the acts.
Yeah, I know, y'all right. Drake dropped 100 gigs on your head top. Diddy was getting head from 100 niggas. That shit is crazy.
Complained of. The time frame of the acts complained of is very wide. The conduct at issue.
Yeah, and I agree with that. By the way, Tyrell Day, thank you for the 10, it says, you remember, the feds asked the game's former manager, which is Jimmy Henchman, about minors. Diddy, I think it was Smoking Gun had it, right? Let me see. Former drug lord claims the feds quizzed him about the sex life of Sean P. Diddy Combs. Now, more than, and by the way, here's the affidavit. More than anything, what this told me was that, you know, the feds were probably hearing these rumors or complaints, right? Now, why didn't they act? That does seem a little suspect. And I think if we kind of go down that rabbit hole, we might get to a Jeffrey Epstein type of situation. If you don't know Jeffrey Epstein, not only was he protected by some powerful people that, you know, he had associations with, and some would argue that maybe he was protecting his damn self. When he did get in trouble, it was the weirdest case ever initially at first, because they were trying to just be like, yo, bro, chill out, chill the fuck out. You're doing too much. And they gave him like this unprecedented, like, you know, never been seen plea that is completely sealed. You can't even understand what's going on. And we've never seen wasn't even a court case. It was just some shit to get the shit away. Everybody speculated about like what the hell that was, but it was to really conceal the real nature and behavior of what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. Now, imagine if that exists in this Diddy thing, right? Well, you never know. Diddy might have had enough power, and again, I keep saying, I know y'all want to hear, like, I know the names y'all want to hear. I'm not saying these people are involved, but y'all want to hear like shit that will entertain y'all, like, oh my God, Jay-Z, oh my God, Stevie J, oh my God, Meek Mill. Like, with all due respect, it's a bunch of niggas who's rapping. Who cares, right? Yeah, of course we would like look into their shit too, but like, the more interesting parts of this would be if Diddy, when, you know, Diddy was starting to gain political power, right? Like around the time, I always say 2008, during the time when he gets into this vote or die thing, he damn near helped galvanize and kind of, you know, was used, not necessarily like against his will. No, Diddy, actually. How ironic. But he was used by the Democratic Party to encourage black people to finally get political and get to vote. Now, that comes with having some type of cachet and power. Like, these niggas owe you a favor. You get what I mean? Like, I don't know if you guys know how the political game is kind of done. You know why some of these guys are, like, popping up to whether it's Kamala rallies or even Trump's rallies? It's not because they're super political. And no, like, they aren't getting these big checks to show up. Like, under certain circumstances, there is a compensation, which, by the way, I from what I've heard, they can't use campaign funds to pay someone just to speak. You get what I'm saying? That goes into like some other murkier waters. But here's a play here. And usually the smart, you know who are setting this up? All of these guys have the same lawyers, and their lawyers are saying this, yo, check this out. If he becomes in power, whoever, or she, if Kamala becomes in power, yo, this is the steps to basically earn some favor if you ever need to get a pardon one day. You get what I mean? Yeah, you're going to have to stand with them at their rally to try to get. So again, a lot of these things are ways to gain, you know, some political favor. And I think Diddy had a lot of it. Like, Diddy damn near, you know, obviously, you know, it was Barack Obama. Like, come on, like, we were going to rock with Barack no matter what. But he was really important back then, right? I wonder if maybe he has, I don't know, maybe some secret shit that's sealed that nobody's going to find. Maybe comes out now, but some secret shit that got covered up because he did have the political favor of the Democrats and they were in power for a while. That might be a thing. So while some of y'all were like, yo, I want to see if Jay-Z's name is I want to see if like any of these politicians were ever involved. You get what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's easy to quickly be like, all right, you're thinking too small if we're thinking about just rappers and what women. Do you think it's just by coincidence that Diddy got the key to the city from Eric Adams? You don't think maybe they were building a relationship? You don't think there was maybe a political, association at that point, which still valued Diddy as a pillar of the black community that had a way of, convincing and galvanizing that audience to, whether to coddle them for certain type of political motives or political, or whatever legislative, choices that come down. I don't know. So who knows? Diddy probably had a little bit of favor and could have covered a couple things up. So yeah, anyway, this is going back to 2003, I believe, right? And this was the affidavit that was supposedly one of the proffers. It was like a transcript of the proffer session. Was it a proffer session or maybe the interrogation? I can't remember what it was. But James Rosemond, which people know as Jimmy Henchman, at that time he sat down and he hears this about a woman showing naked pictures to the woman, to the defendant. Questions became even more bizarre when the prosecutor asked about entertainers' sexual preferences, including but not only Sean Combs having sexual relationships with underage boys. It's 20 years ago. 20 years ago, right?
Spans from the years 1991 all the way till this year, 2024.
Now, why that is important that he just said 1991, because, it was a dead giveaway that the Fed's case is primarily based around Cassie, because they start their RICO. So the RICO is dated back to 2008, right? And the RICO is based on Cassie and Freakoffs. So they're almost basically saying the not first Freakoff, but the first instance that they're using as a crime of a Freakoff activity is in 2008. They only use Cassie. So what about when he was with J-Lo? What about earlier when he was with Kim Porter? What about when he was just, he was at was it Uptown Records? Whatever it was. Like, we've heard allegations going way back from before 2008. Why didn't the Feds include it? Well, now they're saying in these civil suits it definitely spans from 1991, which is...
If you wonder why there are so many alleged victims, that's your answer. We're talking about more than 25 years of this type of conduct. Now, although most of the victims who have stepped forward were victimized after 2015, this has been going on for a very long time. Now, when you think about the fact that some of this conduct...
I'll answer that question. God's cologne. You said as much as you've covered this act, why have you never mentioned Jaguar Wright calling this out? By the way, I did watch a video of hers before on live. You then say, act I don't think has been mentioned that she hasn't been sued for defamation. So don't you think that counts for something? It's no longer a conspiracy act. All right.